A cart drove between the two big, stringy barks and stopped. These were the dominant trees in that part of the bush, rising above the involved scrub with the simplicity of true grandeur. So the cart stopped, grazing the hairy side of a tree, and the horse, shaggy and stolid as the tree, sighed and took root. The man who sat in the cart got down. He rubbed his hands together because already it was cold, a curdle of cold cloud in a pale sky and copper in the west. On the air you could smell the frost. As the man rubbed his hands, the friction of cold skin intensified the coldness of the air and the solitude of that place. Birds looked from twigs, and the eyes of animals were drawn to what was happening. The man lifting a bundle from a cart, the dog lifting his leg on an anthill, the lip drooping on the sweaty horse. Then the man took an axe and struck at the side of a hairy tree, more to hear the sound than for any other reason. And the sound was cold and loud. The man struck at the tree and struck till several white chips had fallen. He looked at the scar on the side of the tree. The silence was immense. The name of this man was Stan Parker.
Stan Parker would sometimes fail to recognise his wife. He would see her for the first time. He would look at her and feel, this is a different one, as if she'd been several. She was, of course, according to which dream rose to the surface. Sometimes she was beautiful. Or again, they would look at each other in the course of some silence, and she would wonder what she had been giving away. But he respected and accepted her mysteries, as she could never respect and accept his. But walking in the garden in the evening, after the children were fed and the milk vessels scalded and the dishes in the rack, then she came into her own. He liked to come along the path and find her by accident at these times, and linger with her, or put his arm awkwardly through hers, or stroll beside her, also awkwardly at first, till warmth and her acceptance made them part of each other.
In the end, there are the trees. These still stand in the gully behind the house on a piece of poor land that nobody wants to use. There is the ugly mass of scrub full of whips and open secrets. But there are the trees, quite a number of them that have survived the axe, smooth ones, a sculpture of trees. On still mornings after frost, these stand steaming with light and moisture, the white, the ashen, and some the colour of flesh. There is nothing else in the bush, except the little sarsaparilla vine, of which the purple theme emerges from the darker undertones. There is silence, and a stone lizard, and a dog that has died recently, and the maggots have not yet had time to invade. The dusty dog, lying with its muzzle turned sideways on his paws in perfect simplicity of death. The rather leggy pale boy comes down later into the bush. He is mooning there and rubbing his forehead against the bark of trees. He is breaking twigs and making little heaps of sticks in various patterns. He is writing in the sand and expecting precious stones in the surfaces of rocks. The scraggy boy, who has grown too big for his pants and for the arms of his coat, has come down from the house of death because he cannot stand it any longer. Well, his grandfather is dead, an old man who he loved, but at a distance, amongst wood shavings. Death gave the boy a fright, but he soon recovered and absorbed all its strange and interesting details. And then he began to suffocate. "What can I do?" he said. He would write a poem of life, of all life, of what he did not know but knew, of all people, even the closed ones, who do open on asphalt and in trains. He would make the trains run on silver lines, the people still dreaming on their shelves, who will wake up soon and feel for their money and their teeth. Little bits of coloured thought that he had suddenly and would look at for a long time would go into his poem. And urgent telegrams and the pieces of torn letters that fall out of metal baskets. He would put the windows that he had looked inside. Sleep, of course. That blue eider down that divides life from life. His poem was growing. It would have the smell of bread and the rather grey wisdom of youth, and his grandmother's kumquats, and girls with plaits exchanging love talk behind their hands, and the blood thumping like a drum, and red apples, and the little wisps of white cloud that will swell into a horse and trample the whole sky once it gets the wind inside it. As his poem mounted in him, he could not bear it, or rather, what was still his impotence. And after a bit, not knowing what else to do but scribble on the already scribbled trees, he went back to the house in which his grandfather had died, taking with him his greatness, which was still a secret. So that in the end, there were the trees, the boy walking through them with his head drooping as he increased in stature, putting out shoots of green thought. So that in the end, there was no end.